Now, I've got my service worker in place, which is really cool. The next thing I want to do is take advantage of some of those cool features that service worker affords me. So I can add caching, right? And again, I'm just dropping in more elements. Now, this Platinum Service Worker cache tag actually builds on top of the Service Worker Toolbox library, but it just makes it nice and declarative. So what we're doing by adding this element is we're telling the application to start dynamically caching requests as they go through it. And there are a few different caching strategies that we can take advantage of. The fastest strategy is going to tell the service worker to race the cache in the network and return whichever one comes first. Network first is going to hit the network, and if that fails, it'll try the cache. And network only is just going to hit the network. If that fails, it's just going to fail the whole request. So for my app, I'm going to opt for the fastest approach because I think it's OK if the user is getting slightly stale content, so long as they're getting something and they're getting it really fast. And I can use the default cache strategy to just configure my cache to use that. But I'm not limited to dynamic caching. I can actually also have this element be proactive and go out and start prefetching and pre-caching things for me as well. And kind of a general rule of thumb is prefetch all the things that are required for your app shell to render really quick for the user. Now, we can do that by configuring the element with a prefetch attribute. I can give it an array of file paths that I want it to prefetch and pre-cache for me. But some people might not like the idea of having an array of file paths in their HTML. That might feel a little wonky. In which case, you could instead use a cache config JSON file. This is just a JSON file full of file paths. So that actually looks like this. I can give my cache an ID, tell it in that array what to pre-cache, and I can also give it a pre-cache fingerprint, which is just a little identifier to show out the uniqueness of the cache itself. So if I want to, I can change that pre-cache fingerprint at any point, and that'll tell my service worker to go out and pre-cache the things from the array over again. Now, in this case, the pre-cache fingerprint is just a hash that I generated. If you're curious how to do that at build time, you can check out our Polymer Starter Kit project. We actually have a little cache config task in the gulp file for it there. I can go and check out that task. It'll actually generate that whole file for you, including the fingerprint, just at build time, so you don't have to manage it yourself by hand. OK, so adding service worker, adding the pre-caching features. Let's see what our app looks like now. So my user's using it, and reading an article. Meanwhile, it's dynamically caching all these things. Let's say they go offline for whatever reason. They go into a tunnel or something like that. And let's say for whatever reason they refresh the page, maybe by accident or they think they need to. So they refresh the page. Well, everything loaded, even though they're still offline. They can actually go back to that article they were reading and just continue the